27 minutes ago.
Well, everyone's finally here. It's 7:34-ish. We're going to call the meeting to order. Lieutenant, could you start the pledge, please?
Absolutely. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
President Gallus.
I'm trying.
Secretary Sutton.
Present.
Treasurer Mann.
Here.
Trustee Saylor. Here. Absent Trustee Simpson.
Say bell.
And
Also President Chief Evans and Attorney White.
I'd like to ask for the approval of the minutes for the regular meeting of 5/18/21.
So moved.
Second.
All agree?
Yep.
Executive session meetings of 5/18/21. So moved.
Second.
Are there any remarks? We have a guest here, sir. Would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Dave Hempy with the Board of Education.
Oh, yes. Nice to have you along. Thanks. Reports. Mr. Treasurer.
President, then you start laughing. You've got the reports in your packet. There was one note that Robin's gonna have to walk me through on this again today. I'm sorry, I don't know how best to explain it. There was basically a transfer of funds that was in process in regards to the payment for the ambulance. Is that correct?
It's when the bank gets notification that the checks are coming in, they automatically transfer money to cover those checks so that we always have in $50,000 increments. They come and make sure that all of our checks are covered. So in the meantime, the money's sitting in the money market, actually earning interest until it's needed for that. The ambulance check was not released right away.
That's all.
So it's sitting out there still, it has not cleared. It's been released to the vendor, but it hasn't been paid yet. So once that comes in, the transfer will be made and that will cover that.
No,
Otherwise, the check is out there, so we have to show that.
now I'm clearing up some of those parentheses numbers that are sitting out there. So thank you very much.
I make a motion to accept the treasurer's report as presented. Second. All approved?
Aye.
I guess I should have been 18 days. Chief?
Thank you, Mr. President. So, been busy recently. The special operations drill for the month was hazardous materials. It was conducted at what was the old Acme Screw Building in Wheaton, right by Bridge Street. And basically it was a full-blown evolution. So it was everything from first companies arriving on the scene, victims and hazardous materials leak, to mitigation of the events. So all of our people got to do things from recon as first in companies to entry teams, decontamination, EMS on victims, gross decon, complete decon, all of that stuff that is involved in a hazardous materials incident. So that's good that we, again, the Alliance, have the ability to handle things with companies that are close by, in service, all that other stuff. Also, as you'll recall, going back to previous meetings, the Office of the State Fire Marshal has changed a lot of the certifications where there now are going to be recertification periods every 4 years. The first of those coming up is hazardous materials operations, that certification. So in addition to the fact that this is good for both practical purposes if we have an event and we can mitigate it ourselves, also in terms of training hours. And I wanted to compliment, unfortunately he's not here, I wanted to compliment Eddie Troutman, who has worked incredibly diligently to get everyone's hours up to speed so that when that period comes up in August, that everyone's going to have the hours necessary to recertify. So he's been after everybody, getting them extra training. This kind of training events like these that last week helped. So we as a department are in really good shape for our people to recertify, and a lot of that credit goes to him for making sure that he got on everybody to make sure it happened. So compliments to the group.
live training and
Actually, that's actually later on, well, I'll cover it now, it's gonna be later on in the report. The Mavis Division, our Mavis Division, we're in Mavis Division 12. We sent a strike team, we as a division of truck companies to Rockton. Division 10 sent a strike team of engines. Division 10 is east out by Lions over in that area. Sent a strike team of fire engines there, and actually, I was, just before the meeting, was going through some emails that we're sending a relief strike team to replace that strike team. The original strike team that got sent, I think only West Chicago, Chief Tanner and their ladder, tower ladder, Tower 6 are still out there, or were still out there. And the rest of those companies that have been sent on that original strike team have been released, and they're waiting. We're gonna send relief companies out there, we as a division. And that group is from the east side, Wooddale. I think the farthest west of those, of the new strike team is from Glen Ellen. So we're sending companies out there to give aid and relief, actually, and other divisions are as well, which is, again, the beauty of our state, our system, is the fact that we can do that, so that they can have aid in this incredibly difficult event that they're encountering as a community. So yes, actually, and yeah, it has made incidents. Multi-company is currently in progress. It's automobile electrification. It's being hosted by West Chicago out of the Crusher on Washington Avenue. They're very gracious to us all. When we go out there for our annual training, they pull cars out, destroy them, keep them on top of each other, so it's like showing up on a colossal wreck. And then we start tearing things apart and trying to get at victims inside. Heavy on the EMS component of the trauma of patients and removing the vehicle from the patient, not removing the patient from the vehicle. Very important stuff. Giving treatment in the cars, being able to do the extrication itself, vehicle stabilization, using the tools appropriately to get things done so nothing falls over or we don't have some mini collapse in the event. So there's a lot to it. An awesome drill, one that we try and do at least once a year. And some of our people, Matt Smith in particular, are leading the EMS portion of that training for the Alliance. So compliments to him. And the crews are getting really good drills. I'll be out there tomorrow myself along with the companies. And again, it ran today, tomorrow, and the next. Recent events of note. And I want to stress that they were in service the entire time that they were doing this. So they were available to take calls. And in fact, they did take a call during this. But flag shift led by Lieutenant Pimento, Burke and Whitney were on the tender with him as well. Had a eight duckling rescue. Second. So, and again, they were in service the whole time, but they did manage to free the ducklings who were reunited with the mother, I believe.
Yeah.
So,
Did they say a thank you card?
that's it.
Now you're getting any.
So those are a big deal. I mean,
Did they send quackers?
it means a lot to the community.
Did they
so.
send quackers?
But
Did they fall in the green?
they did.
Yeah.
Good job.
And then Gold Shift on June 2nd had a grill fire, which is not particularly abnormal, but one of the points was, because we have an audience now, is remember grill safety, keep them clean, keep them away from exposures, don't have it leaning up against the house. This is for the audience, so that you don't have to see us in the bad way. And thankfully, in that case, it was mitigated fairly quickly and without further incident. Service anniversaries, none of note. And we wanted to compliment Andrew Martin and his wife had a baby boy 10 days ago.
This is the most sleep I'm gonna get. Very close. Thank you.
So on the other items, Our latest engine 31 update, in fact, we just got an update this morning asking us to go up to Wauga in Wisconsin, where their factory service center is, to perform the final inspection on the apparatus on June 28th. Now that number has been declared and changed a few times. This is the latest one, so we're hopeful that this time it's actually going to come to be. I will be going up there likely with our new head of maintenance, Brian Berg. He's on vacation right now, so I'm not sure about his availability, but on or about that date, we're going to try and get up there to do a final inspection. It should be returning hopefully sometime shortly after that, and we'll get it back in service. So it's been quite a while. The new final eligibility register for full-time commission members was adopted on June 10th. Commissioner Voss started with the commission, and I think that was second meeting. Got the new list. It's up and posted. We obviously have an opening, so we're going to be proceeding with the new hire. Probably be contacting number one on the list tomorrow. The appraisal companies will get under new business. We've also been working with, like I had mentioned, the architecture firm. We're waiting with the financial analyst to get some of these numbers in to see what we're looking at. But the architecture coming close. There was a few things that needed to button up with respect to this facility. Their assumptions took into account the building itself as it exists. The exterior walls were in good shape, and they didn't realize that the roof needed to be replaced. Doors, windows needed to be replaced in the foundations. So they're adjusting their assumptions for that to dial up those numbers. I think that was about it, right?
It was.
And then after that, they're going to have some concept ideas and fairly good numbers for us. And hopefully, again, we'll talk to them about presenting at this meeting when the time came, so that, again, hopefully it will be in July, and then go next to the appraisal companies. That'll be two parts of the equation, and then the third one will be talking with financial people about how to do what. The engine committee was formed. I put the notice out. Lieutenant Fermento is going to be leading the engine committee, the new fire engine. Also on that committee, you're going to be Lieutenant Roman and Firefighter Burke. And they're going to be getting going in earnest on that new apparatus. Currently, according to most manufacturers, the build time on a new apparatus is somewhere in the neighborhood of 14 to 15 months. So even after they get to that point, it's still going to be a considerable wait to get the new apparatus. We've been working with Irma a lot recently. Again, compliment Standard Martin yet again. He's been working really hard with a firm called Vinderlift to do a lot of safety lifting equipment issues. We've been meeting with them. They've been attending our staff and safety meetings, trying to get a lot of. So we've got quite a bit of work to do. We're in the program with them for corrective behavior, so we have a lot of work to do. People want triage, so having a company, a one-call company where members get themselves heard on a Sunday afternoon, you call 1-800 number and get immediately dialed. It's not like they have to go home kind of hurt. It's something they can call an 800 number and they'll get fast tracks through the whole assessment, seeing specialists early, because studies have found that will lead to improved return to work times and better outcomes. So we're doing a lot of that kind of stuff. We're doing a lot of heavy work on that front. And again, we'll go into that in more detail later on the agenda. Pension board update. There was a pension board meeting this morning. Firefighter Littledale is reelected to the pension board, and retired Chief Jimenez is the president. They had an election this morning, president of the board, Lieutenant Pimento is secretary. And they have a lot of work to do because the has been in the media quite a bit. They're transferring the funds downstate. So there's going to be a lot of, and that's going to be happening very soon. So they're going to have a lot of work facilitating that from our fund down to the commingled fund downstate, which you can speak
The
to.
hardest part is reconciling the irony that they are held to a high degree of fiduciary duty of prudent investment and are required to send their money to the state of Illinois. How they reconcile those two irreconcilable concepts, we don't know.
We've been doing our due diligence on that board to make sure that we are, are we 98% funded? I mean, we're protecting the people that work here. We've been heart and soul making sure that everything's right. Now it certainly is.
But now it's going to be commingled with everybody who's 30%.
So the last actuarial report we got, we took a bit of a dip, but that was for two reasons. One, we previously hadn't had a retiree collecting. And two, there was a change to the tier 2. If you recall, those of us of a certain age were part of the tier 1 system, the old pension system, and then there was a change and they adopted tier 2 both for Article 3 police and Article 4 firefighter pensions. So they diminished the benefits starting at a certain point for the younger members. Then there was a complication with that new benefit not reaching safe harbor. So they had to enhance that benefit a little bit, and that impacted our fund and everyone else's, because you weren't contributing based on that until they changed what the benefit was going to be. So there was a couple things that happened last year that kind of put us in flux, which is why we had contributed the extra money that we did. And so it'll be interesting to see how the actuarial comes out this year, but we are nonetheless a healthy fund. And we've been doing a really good job with making sure that that was the case. And again, these guys are going to have quite a bit of work because that apparently is happening in a more expedited pace than anyone expected.
My understanding was end of June.
Wow.
So
The end of June, they give us a 3-month notice.
Yeah, it starts from end of June.
October
and then
is
it's
the
still gonna be
fastest
done by
in
October.
Illinois done it.
Yeah, they're hoping to at least start transferring out tonight.
So just an interesting little tidbit about one of the facets of the organization. I thought it would be nice to give you all the update on that. And then of course I spoke to the Mavis Pulp task force. I think that's all I had. That's all.
Very, your report, yes.
Yeah, I will have some comments on the new business issues.
Okay, any old business that we want to address? Then we,
I make a motion to set up the agenda. I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone? Monthly run report.
Wasn't at least gonna do
New business, discuss possible action with the appraisal companies. Do you want to address that, Chief?
Yes, sir. Mr. President. So as you recall, last month, we started reaching out again as part of finding out what we need to do for a facility, what it would cost to fix up any of the 3 properties that the district has, what it would be worth, what the 3 properties themselves are worth, and then what kind of debt load to make whatever the board decides happen. I mean, so we're taking a very methodical approach towards trying to make an informed and proper decision. And this is one of those occasions where we want to be absolutely methodical about it, because we don't want to guess wrong. We want to be absolutely right on all the information we can have. As part of that, going back to the last meeting, we were having some difficulties finding some firms to do this work, and so at the board's direction, we revisited the topic to try and find some more firms, which we didn't have a whole lot of luck. And I want to give compliments to Robin because most of this was her effort. We did find a couple of firms, one of which is included in this packet. One of the updated proposals. One we don't have yet. We should be getting it in a couple of days.
We have one from Herman coming. And he said that because he does our property evaluations for casualty loss, if something were to happen to the building, what does it cost to replace it? He's not the guy, but he works for somebody in his office that could provide a commercial appraisal of value. And then we have another commercial real estate person that will come in free of charge to just give us an analysis, a realtor's analysis from his perspective on.
And that's Tuesday morning.
Yeah, so it could be another week before we get both of those.
Okay. So it's just, we've been trying quite hard to get a good list together, and it's been challenging. So
And these are just quotes to actually do the appraisals. And we're like 3 to 4 weeks out before we actually get the appraisals.
One quick note, just as I was going through this, the second one, the Argianis or whatever the name is, there's only 2 properties listed on that one, not 3, so.
Yes. He said something about what I was talking to him on the phone. Vacant land is vacant land, and it has a value of this times this, and so as long as I know the acreage, I really don't need to go out and. Yeah, so that was just his take on that, so.
now, that particular property is currently zoned. Limited. So that's going to be the factor. Because it was specially zoned by the village, so somewhat when I was still on ship, I don't know, particularly it was basically fire station or single family detached homes. So that's another.
Which I think we knew that going.
Yeah, it was part of the kind of,
I think it's the appraisal that may not know that.
right, so that's one of those things that's gonna factor in.
It'd be hard for him to get a certain group of evaluation, but we know what we paid for it.
Well, the reality is 4 lots that are already mapped out. It's gonna be more valuable than just a.
Right, there's already service there too, right?
There's already service, right?
Yeah.
So there are approved lots.
Yeah,
So that way.
that changes that valuation.
So, but that being said, 4 lots here at Winfield is. We'll have to look at them all 4 lots.
So that's the status of the effort and whether or not board wants to take action. If they want to wait for all of the remaining appraisals, we'll continue searching to see if we can find a firm number. I was just saying earlier this afternoon, there were several firms that we thought we tried to contact and they were no longer in operation. So it was actually more difficult than one would think. So it's up to the board. This largely has to do with the
Personally, I'd like to have everything in front of me before we move forward, so let's table this. We have everything.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Thank you for your efforts.
Especially when there's such a.
I was gonna say, it's a pretty
There's a
drastic
big range
price
of,
range.
yeah,
Right.
and we still don't know where everything else is coming.
Yeah,
This will, the appointment of appraiser will not require published bidding under the Competitive Bidding Act, because it's most likely going to be under $20,000. All of these bids are, and also it's appointing someone who uses a degree of professional discretion and judgment. We accept it for that. So we don't need to do a bid.
Are we ready to move on? Was that your comment?
That was on that one.
Okay. Well, you just keep me posted. Our next,
Throw something.
our next discussion of possible action is of a contract with Lexington Forward.
So our policies and procedures are in need of updating. Wait a bit, some of them are quite tired. It's an enormous undertaking, just the HR elements of updating that alone are considerable, coupled with our situation with Irma. So they are an entity that has a relationship with Irma and offers discounts for Irma members. And through the Membership Relations Committee, we were able to negotiate a $10,000 grant offsetting the implementation costs of this program, and for the comprehensive amount of work that is involved, and making sure, again, my battle cry, making sure it's right. I think this is a prudent investment in the structure of the organization to build out a good, solid set of policies and procedures. And therefore, I'm asking for authorization to proceed with having them then to do all this work. It involves now with Lexipol, they have an annual membership where they maintain, update, train your people. They have a smartphone app for training on policies and procedures. So there's an annual subscription fee. There's also a one-time fee built into this for bridging our existing policies and procedures into their model policies so that it can be somewhat developed for our needs and suit our purposes and needs.
So say this, didn't we just update our policies and procedures?
We updated a few, not the entirety of it. Yeah, just a few job descriptions, which actually will be updated again according to the insurance company for maximum lifting amounts and stuff like that, which again is stuff that they can cross-reference against OSHA and NFPA standards and all the other stuff to make it solid.
I just remember coming across our desk.
And then
Back. Prior.
I think the current policy procedures manual
Yeah,
is
the prior one.
We tweak it from here to there to kind of mirror the collective bargaining agreement to some degree, or if there's changes.
I thought we made a big change when we became Western Alliance, because we keep a lot of our.
well, those in terms of our standard operating guidelines for on the street stuff. Engine company operations, truck company operations, SWAT company operations, communications response.
Those would
Policy,
be SOGs, though, not
Yeah.
these.
policy procedures, we're talking, yeah, stuff like,
Safety and training
Safe-
and safety protocols.
like
Training
human resource
development.
related stuff, sensitivity training, all of those things. And then the implementation of doing a tiered implementation of the whole thing, which this is the bulk of what the grant would be covering. So a lot of other agencies have used this, most notably, one of our alliance partners, Winfield Fire Protection District, utilize this service. And to be honest, what typically happens is they'll keep it for a few years until everything's back then. And then there's a 1 year, it's a 1 year, year agreement for the annual subscription fee, and then with a 90-day notification before you.
Automatic renewal.
Thank you, automatic renewal. There's a 90-day cancellation, so you go for a couple years and you get your stuff dialed in.
I think it's important that we have everyone trained for the proper verbiage and things that are going on in this culture that we're in right now. And whatever the expenses are, I'm sure it will far less than if we hadn't.
Well, considering the $10,000 grant.
Right.
So.
I just want to compliment you guys on always, I mean, years of finding grants, saving the Winfield public probably $1 million, $10,000 at a time, always searching for a grant, getting this, doing that, and the due diligence that takes, finding grant and writing grant proposals. Robin, you could be a professional grant writer, I'm sure.
Well, I don't feel I need this help on myself.
Yeah. I know, but I mean, but it's, oh, I got a grant. it's not that simple. It's no, and you get them constantly, so thank you very much.
Chief, I just have one quick question.
Yes.
You mentioned there's an app-based program involved with all this. Is there any sort of feedback that we receive that the membership has then gone through the review of all this and they've become proficient on it? And my only thought is it does no good to write great procedures if nobody actually reads the things and understands what's in there. Do we have some way of?
Thank you very much for that. It was an excellent question. I appreciate it. In point of fact, precisely that they have to test out and sign off. And part of the mobile app is actually logging, tracking, and testing out of policies as they're rolled out.
Excellent.
And the updates as well. Perfect. So that way, at home,
Yeah.
they do it and test out of it, so that way, and there's records similarly kept by Lexipol verifying their compliance. So then when OSHA comes in for an audit or anything like that,
Hey, we already did it. Okay, perfect. That's what I wanted to do.
It's gonna be a roll call, because we're spending money, correct?
Well, yes, there will be a roll call, but it does, even though it's more than $20,000, it will not require public bidding because it is a service that's available from any source such as a subscription. And since this is a subscription, you will not need to do public bidding, but it will take a roll call vote.
So I need.
I make a motion that we enter into a contract with.
I'll second that.
With regard to the contract, it's pretty draconian in terms of, almost not quite as draconian as the FBI warning that you get at the beginning of every videotape, but pretty much the same. So it really is proprietary. It belongs to them. We can alter it. We do anything we want with it, but we can't disseminate it even if we alter it, because that becomes a derivative work. So I've looked over the contract. There's no basis for changing it, but it will work. It's a perpetual license, so everything that we get, we keep forever, even though they will only update it as long as your subscription payments.
President House.
Yes.
Secretary Smith.
Yes.
Treasurer Gainer.
Yes.
Trustee Taylor.
Yes.
Trustee Stetser.
Does Lexipol know that our president is impervious to sensitivity training?
I have comments for that. Sensitive.
I don't know if you guys caught on the back page of the full packet, it says over 575 implementation projects. So, I mean, they've done the work.
Yeah.
It works in other places. We're trying to elevate our everything here. Why not go with something that's already, it's gonna save so much in the long run.
You can't reinvent the wheel.
Exactly.
Okay, our second action is for the air pack purchase. Again, it's a FEMA grant and air pack purchase. Again, they've gone out, got a grant. So, Chief.
Thank you, Mr. President. In 2019, we applied for and were awarded a FEMA grant for approximately $172,000. It was $172,000
Only.
of which 156 and change was the maximum federal contribution, and the minimum for the district was about $15,600. It was for 24 air packs, and those air packs were complete. The harness itself, 2 bottles, and face piece, 24 of those, and then in addition, 8 additional masks because we have people. So, in awarding the grant, the numbers don't quite align, and there's a worksheet when we exercise the grant that we need to do. So the numbers will change slightly in terms of what the district contribution will be. However, it's still a really good deal for us.
Huge.
Yeah.
Couple of things involved in the grant. It was awarded in August 13th of 2019 for it to run through August 13th of 2020 was the grant period where we had to exercise the option. Because of COVID-related issues, that FEMA granted one year extension for the grant period because of all of what happened with the ability to get anything, get anybody out here to do testing, for us to go out and do testing, and all of that stuff. So I've been through with the regional directors who've been very kind. A lot of the ins and outs on how to go through all of this and then eventually arrive at a place where we were going to be exercising the grant, making the purchase, and then get reimbursed from FEMA. Similarly, I had conversations with Attorney Weiler, and his opinion, and I do not disagree that we should probably instead put this out for competitive bid. So you can speak.
Yeah, it just
That was
needs,
your other point.
yes, it just needs to, this one does need to be published because regardless of where the source of the funds are, is an expenditure of over $20,000. And because we got 3 quotes, we know that it's not available from a single source. So all that would take is, this is kind of time sensitive because we cannot collect on the grant until the product is actually delivered. And the lead time for this type of equipment, because everybody is applying for these types of grants, is fairly long. So we have to have this in hand before the FEMA will pay for it. So we do need to get it on file, even though the date has been extended to August of 2020. So we will issue that. We will issue the publication tomorrow or the next day, and we'll be ready to vote on it as soon as they come back. So it's just a 10-day publication period. The companies, we're going to send it, even though we're publishing it, we're going to send it specifically to the vendors and have them respond again.
Yes.
So we would have a bid opening like in 15 days or so, and then we'll be ready to approve it.
Yeah, because there was some conflicting information with respect to that part of it, and in out of abundance of both caution and open and honest disclosure, yeah, that we've elected to go this route. This is completely,
Yeah.
So we'll table this.
Yes.
All right, the next action, discuss and take action on the deputy chief selection process. You have an application?
It's up to you whether you want to review that in closed session or open session.
Great, open session. Anyone else?
I just didn't know if it was a requirement, that's all.
It's not required.
Perfect, that works for me. Gee, starting to do that.
Everyone should know what's going on. Start roll, chief.
you have an application
Good job.
from a candidate.
Seems very qualified.
At the last meeting, we discussed potential package, so it's a matter of what the board wishes to do.
Is this the candidate we were supposed to have brought in for interview before this meeting? We were gonna do it after last month?
Do applications, we couldn't get all the information as far as resume and letters of recommendation, that's what they together. Right.
You know, once our opportunity, if I remember correctly, the board said that we would do everything within our power to meet at the earliest possible date. Has that date, is there a couple dates out there? Have we done anything to, I mean, read's real good on paper. Certainly has excellent recommendations.
Yeah, if you recall, there was some scheduling conflicts, both amongst the board members and then ultimately after that period. Yeah. So that's why I put it in the packet, because it didn't work out.
Okay. Right.
So it was a matter of how you put, I will, if you have a few dates,
I guess our availability would be based on his. I mean, you know what I mean? I don't want to say we can do this, if he can give us 4 dates, I would think that the majority of us, well, actually, it's,
I know I'm gonna be gone next week. Saturday to Saturday.
and I won't be gone until the first week of August, so I'm gonna be here for most of the year. Most of the time.
So yeah, it was strictly a matter for me of what your direction was on. Because the original timeline didn't work out, so how you want me to handle it?
I want you to handle this in earnest because I'm afraid that you're wearing yourself down and not seeing your family enough. I think that is important that we interview people that are gonna not only fit our needs as a district, but your needs as an assistant, so that you get the time that you deserve off. I don't wanna hurry up and just hire a person, I wanna hire the right person. But I also think that we need to move forward on any time that we have a qualified person like this. So whenever, as soon as possible, please.
I will contact
Obviously not next week.
I will contact the individual tomorrow morning, first thing.
Great.
Get a list of 4 dates after next week and put that out to board members and see if we can come together a date.
Are we all available after next week?
I will be gone from Thursday, or is that the 1st through the 5th?
Okay, so after next week, you're good then too.
Yeah, my stuff's not till the end of July.
Jenny?
I have nowhere to go.
Everybody
I'll be
wishes
here.
to go know the lunch today. You've got something.
But I go back to my question of last month, we are now another month into this process with nothing in front of us, and, you know, I said this last month, I'm not comfortable with us holding everything off and not moving forward with one person, not knowing if that's gonna even,
It's out there, isn't there? Isn't it? I mean,
I thought we never published.
Hasn't
We
been
made a
published. Okay.
decision to
All right.
allow him to publish, but we were gonna introduce candidates.
Yeah, just keep in mind that you'll have to have a 48-hour public meeting notice.
So I can similarly publish notification and make pre-arrangement with this member. Again, ultimately, if the board, you tell me what you want to be doing, I'll do it.
Well, you know, I would say that let's make it an appointment of this guy, this gentleman, excuse me, person. I think that's who are you? Person, right? It's a guy. So it's and just to back ourselves up, let's get it out there. I mean, you know, I don't know how much harder you want to work. You know, it's not about me, it's about you, buddy.
I love to work.
Yeah, so are you gonna agree with Jenny? You wanna get that?
Well, I mean, I've said since the get-go, like, we shouldn't have already had it out there,
So
and had,
okay,
you know,
yes,
100 of these on our table versus one.
so are we ready? Let's get it going. Get him set up and get this thing published. Okay. Let's find a suitable helper for you.
And you've seen the notice, I'll just put it for a 30 day, change the date from last
Is
month.
that, when you say, is that sequential or simultaneous? Get this guy in here and
No,
publish at the same
Let's get
time.
everything going. Let's get it, let's do it. Okay? Now, everything should be done now. Make the motion to pay the bill. Second. Pay the bill. Okay, anyone opposed? Is all in agreement? Looks like these are, we good? All right, good to go. Bernie, are we going into executive session?
I don't see any reason to.
Okay, make sure we jump. Yes.
I think the whole.
Are we going to adjourn into executive session or recess?
What is the
I don't know.
basis of, what's the purpose of the executive session? Oh, man, but
If we had all known. Yes, recess and executive session for purposes of.
It's about a workers' comp.
yeah, so the pending litigation.
I'll make the motion to recess.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You opposed?
So for everyone watching, we can put them back into the lobby and then we'll readmit them when we.
By the way, I'm sorry, should we see if anyone watching has any questions? Sorry, Mrs. Taylor. Mrs. Jeff. And Phil.
Raise your hand up.
Is there any hand raisers?
No, I could be watching.
Okay.
You could. Are you taking action after executive session?
Would we take action after executive session here, Ms. Chief?
Yes.
Yes, we will. So we're going to recess, come back, take action, and then we will.
This won't take. It's not.
Yeah, it's okay.
All right.
Are you okay with this? Movement?
Sure. We need to.
Okay.
Oh, should I just like?
Might just stay right there.
You take Robin's seat.
All right, well, we are back in session. No action is going to be taken. So I make a motion. to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The meeting's over. Thank you, gentlemen and ladies, for showing up. Thanks, everyone. Now, Steve, should we hang on to this?